For the first time in Genius Invocation TCG history, a middle of the patch balance change has reshaped the future of the meta and had an effect on competitive play. Leave a like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So, 1 week into the patch, we received both a character and a new action card change. I will talk about this as objectively as possible before moving into my opinions. First up, we have Yelan, and her burst being well known for coordinated damage being the Xingqiu 2.0. It has now been changed to have the same coordinated damage of 1 instead of 2. To compensate for this, just like Xingqiu when his damage was changed back in 3.6, the on-cast damage has been adjusted from 1 to 3. On paper, losing 1 damage doesn't seem like a lot, but if you recall, Xingqiu, when he originally had 2 damage just like Yelan, had a deck that was very oppressive, and that being Ganyu Freeze. And now, in the modern times in 4.6, Yelan OTK is receiving similar treatment. Thankfully, Yelan still retains her on-demand draw from her charge shot, but this particular comp of Yelan OTK is now going to have a difficult time adjusting to its lower damage potential. I think it's still pretty reasonable, and we'll talk more about it later, but that is just the character change. I have yet to talk about the elephant in the room, that being Undersea Treasure Hunt. A card introduced this patch. We have only played with it for 1 week and already has received a change. The card itself just costs 2 aligned dice instead of just 1. Nothing else about this card is functionally changed, but the 2 aligned dice cost is going to make it way harder to play. To help you better understand this change and why it was so needed, let's take a look at the Treasure Hyper Magic deck newly formed last week by Attila, one of the GITCG admins and top players. Since Treasure adds cards to your deck, you want to draw as much as possible first. However, there is a way to reach such a critical mass of draw power to the point where you have everything by your first 2 and 3 turns. It was just never viable. But when you can hide Wovens plus healing into your deck for free, this becomes a top tier strategy. I've skipped ahead to the part where this happens. As you can see, I've drawn nearly my entire hand thanks to artifacts, Lumenstone, Chang, etc. And now I fold Treasure into my deck. Since my hand is mostly empty, I think you know what I'm about to draw soon. Let's set it up. I'm gonna take out Noelle. Now, thanks to our draw, what is that? Oh why? Treasure. Oh, look at that! More treasure! And now, I can play all these treasures and attack 2 more times. Oh, look at that! More treasure! Oh, look at that! I seem to have drawn my entire hand with more treasure. But hey, I got another one. Let's put in more treasure. Judgment is upon you. I strategize. More treasure. Oh, look at that! More treasure! Oh, look at that! More treasure!
I've been waiting for you for ages.
I just tore off 38 HP from a crab deck, threw my entire hand with treasure, and got out of the battle unscathed. I think you can see how this is a bit of a problem. And this isn't just this deck. This could be applied to many decks, such as Yelan OTK, Kong Razor, and possibly more had the weeks gone by. Coming off of last patch, we were very happy to have the Jet meta where things would be decided on who draws what first, and now we move into next patch. And unintentionally, there is a better Jet. Why? It's not tied to any conditions such as bursting or destroying supports, and it's way more flexible since you can save the dice and heal in your hand. The first time Attila coached me on this deck where my Yelan died before bursting, and I still won the game. I then matched Attila where he was playing this deck, and I took out their Yelan before bursting, and he still won! Objectively speaking, having these balance changes happen now instead of later is a lot healthier than allowing Treasure to fully take over, just like the last 2 patches of Jet. A lot of players from patch 4.4 through 4.5 found themselves quite polarized by competitive and casual play when the answer in deck building is always just use Jet, and subsequently, Treasure would have been her replacement. This is the opinion zone now, and all opinions are my own. Feel free to leave a comment if you disagree or if you have something to say. I feel that Treasure and Yelan changes, while very quick and also very jarring, are ultimately good. If we were to leave it as is, the patch would very quickly become homogenized and polarizing for players who are interested in the game. I would say pretty good on the development team for making a change so fast before the meta staled out once more. But on the topic of players, this has a significant effect on competitive players since I'm sure you know this is the patch for Prince Cup, the IRL tournament with big money and basically the super major World Cup yada yada yada. And unfortunately, these matches start extremely soon. I want to preface this by saying that you shouldn't go after organizers due to the balance changes. This is something out of everyone's control, and organizers have taken some measures to try and compensate for these issues. But what we can talk about is how changes like these affect competitive play. If you're a player, you've had about 1 week since the new update to craft new decks in the new meta, and now you must once again craft new decks in a pretty close to the tournament date. Building decks already takes a significant amount of time and is very much based on how well an individual can theory craft and test. When applied to the tournament environment, a new meta with no staples on the wall, people are going to keep the secret sauce themselves so they can have an advantage. Completely understandable and a viable means to win. But the chaotic shifting of need to learn, then unlearn, and then remake is a process that I imagine is extremely taxing as it sounds. Additionally, players who have already played games now qualify with a different meta in which that they played to get in the first place. For the most part, I think the situation would be less of an issue if there was not a major tournament going on. And as much as it will be a chaotic scramble to find new decks for the biggest tournament, for the most part the situation is being handled in the best way it can be, and it just simply is going to be very unfortunate timing. In my opinion, it does call into question the balancing and possibly playtesting and development side of things, but I don't foresee this ever happening again because this is truly a drastic measure. Like, this is like new in like Ho-Yo history. I just hope at the added baseline this can be better timed in the future if it ever does happen again, and the players won't have to suffer with so much on the line. But what do you think? Do you think there's a better way to handle this? Should a card that is meta breaking be removed or maybe not even added to the game in the first place? How should tournaments deal with hot fixes? And how do you think this affects your competitive play? Leave a comment below. Thank you all for watching. Check out my other channel at Coach's TCG Kitchen, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye!